What a hit from the 70s from the Silvers, Boogie Fever. And the man who drummed on that very same track is with us now from Auckland, Greg Tell. Good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, hello. How are you, Leanne?
Hey, I'm really good. I was dancing around a wee bit to that song, although I appreciate that you've done a lot since then.
A little bit, yes. You could say that.
Bit of water under the bridge.
Yeah.
So when you hear that song, what does it make you think? What does it remind you of?
We went to school together at the Silver, so we were in like junior high school. And in high school, they switched schools, and then they started doing, their music thing. But I wasn't with them then. We were still in school. Then one day I was walking down the street, and they pulled up, said they needed a drummer. And they'd already had hits out, so I was able to jump on the bandwagon.
Is that how it happened, just like that?
Yeah, I was walking. Well, I'd done some, my first gig was with their older sister, Olympia. And that was when I was 11 years old. And we went to Huntington Beach and played in this garage. And the payment was hot dogs and fruit punch.
Oh,
and that was the
it.
first gig I did. That was 1968. Yeah, around 1968, 67.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So that was your payment. Boy.
Yes, that was my first gig. Yeah.
Oh, it's delightful. But it didn't take long, did it? I mean, you were 18. That was the age you were when Hugh Masekela invited you to perform in LA at a jazz club.
Yes. That sticks in my mind. Yeah, to this day. Yeah, how I met him. He came in to the studio, and we were rehearsing. The band I was with called Jawbone. We were rehearsing to get a record deal with Chisa Blue Thumb, which is a subsidiary of Gulf and Western. And he walked into the room, and we sort of had a break. And he came and said, "Oh, you really, you play nice. I like the way you play." I said, "If you think so, give me a gig." I was pretty cheeky, and nothing happened for about 4 or 5 months. And then he called me and said he had a gig if I could do it. Yeah, and I jumped straight on it. That was it.
Yeah, and how inspiring would it have been for you to, even though you were probably young and a little bit precocious, to be dealing with Hugh Masekela, who was responsible for the Paul Simon hit "Diamonds on the Soles of His Shoes"?
Yes. Yeah, I was precocious then. I had a lot of bangs in me. And, he mentored me, like through the whole gig and everything, and spoke with my parents. And lots of people came to this famous club we played at. It was called The Lighthouse. It's 30 Pier Avenue in Hermosa Beach, which is on the water there in L.A. And everyone came out to hear this because Hugh Masekela didn't play sort of often, on the West Coast. When he did, they would sell out all his concerts. So, yeah, it sold out 5 nights in a row. So,
amazing.
Yeah, it was great, yeah.
Wow. So you actually grew up in LA South Central. What was life like for you as a kid in that part of the world?
Well, my dad was in the Navy, so we moved around lots of different places. Now, he retired in 1965. Then we migrated to Los Angeles from Charleston, South Carolina. We got to, Watts. I went to Compton Avenue Elementary School, southeast Los Angeles, and it was rough. Everything, police shootings, and this was just, the riots started then. The LA riots had just started, I remember, so all I can see in my head is like lots of smoke and fire and police and fire trucks going everywhere and people looting, and it was mayhem.
And did you have one specific experience where you got into some trouble with a bunch of guys, or some cops actually, policemen with guns? Tell me about that. What happened there?
Yes. Well, my dad was an L.A. County sheriff because when we got to L.A., he went to police academy. So he graduated from that, became a sheriff. So he was at work this night. I was going to visit my girlfriend, and the police pulled me up beside the railroad tracks, and they asked me to get out of the car, so I did. They checked the car, nothing, and then they asked me to run down the railroad tracks. And I just thought, well, I know they're going to shoot me if I do. So I just asked him to give my dad a ring, like give him a quick call and explain to them what they would like to do, So when I told them my dad worked at Biscayne Center, which is the main jail there, they just let me go. So, yeah.
Gosh. Far out. So your dad saved your life, really, that phone call?
Oh, yeah, a few times, yeah.
No, more than once. Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's so
It was dangerous.
So bad.
You have to run and duck. I've seen shootings where they're right in front of you. You have to learn to duck and get out of the way as quick as you can.
Yeah. Wow. And so how did that shape you as a person and a muso as well? Did it make you want to get the hell out of America? Is that why you came down under?
Not so much at that point. The things that I experienced, when I was like in high school, it was a normal thing. What happened in the neighborhood, that was just normal. And so how it came to me coming to this part of the world, I got a contract with Capitol Records, and the group had hits out in L.A. and the West Coast, and then they had a 3-month contract in Sydney at Whiskey A Go-Go on William Street. That's 1974.
Wow, okay.
And we went there to the Whiskey, and we played 6 nights a week. It was packed every night, so they invited us to stay another month. So we did, and the record company allowed us, and as soon as we got back to L.A., we had to jump back on the road again. Yeah.
So you had a lot to do with Renee Geyer in the early in the 70s, didn't you?
Oh yes, 47 years ago, my first recording with her. Yeah, I met her just when I flew back from L.A. to Sydney. I was there for about 5 days, and I was getting gigs already, so it was good. And then I used to go around fitting in, so I went where the big Coca-Cola sign is there on William Street, King's Cross there. And they had a club downstairs called the Polaris Room. And Russell Dunlop, the first producer for AC/DC, he was drumming with this band, and they had a nice sound. And Renee happened to come in, and we both wanted to sit in, so we sat in with them, and we played. She said, I'd like to get you in my band. I'm going to be recording. I said, oh, okay, we'll get your record company to come and talk with me. So they flew in from Melbourne to Sydney, came to my place, talked with me for a while. Then I liked what I heard. Then I signed the contract. 8 days later, I was in Melbourne recording this album, the one called Ready to Deal.
You're right.
That was the first one I did. That has Sweet Love on it. If Loving You Is Wrong, Spilt Milk, Hoop. And Heading in the Right Direction was a huge hit for Renee.
That was a great song.
We won Album of the Year for that. And the writer for that is a fellow by the name, he's an Aussie, his name's Mark Punch. He wrote that with co-wrote that with another fellow by the name of Matchfist. I don't know his real name, but that's what we call him. But Mark now is living in Nashville, Tennessee. He's been there quite a few years. And he's a guitarist, songwriter.
I know of Mark because he worked with a woman I've interviewed a few times, Jackie Bristow, who is a
I was going to say
based.
that, and she lives over
Jackie?
there as well. Yes, and I called her 2 years ago when she came here. Mark was supposed to come here with her, so I called her at 121 on Ponsonby Road because she was going to be there. I told Mark will be with her. I'll go meet him. And she said, no, Mark, he fell and he hurt his ribs, so he didn't want to take a long flight. So, he stayed in Nashville.
Well, she raves about Mark Punch and what he's done for her career and her music, which is great.
Well, we were roommates. We wrote the Ready to Deal album. They flew us all to Melbourne, and Mark and myself, we were living in Sydney. The other musicians lived in Melbourne, so we'd stay at Michael Gudinski's house on Toorak and Hopeton.
Right.
In Toorak. And Ray Evans and Michael Gudinski, he owned Mushroom Records then, you see.
Yeah, brilliant man.
And so we'd stay at his place, and and we'd just like hang out there and go to dinner after, we'd lay a few tracks down for the first album, then we'd go on the road for about a week. Then we'd fly back into Melbourne and do a few more tracks, then go back out on the road again.
What a life. Fantastic. So you've worked on 4 of Renee's gold albums, and the other one that I wanted to focus on today is Really, Really Love You, because we've got that song lined up and it's one of my faves. And you actually helped write that?
Yes, Mark Punch and myself wrote the lyrics for that.
That's so cool because it is a great
Yeah.
song. So why don't we hear it now? If you can hold the line, Greg, we'll be right back with you after this track.
Renee, and
Ah,
for a while and toured the States. He came back and inherited a T-shirt factory up in Queensland, and he just drank scotch day and night, and eventually just drank himself to death.
yes, shame. Does happen,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
but the keyboard player, Mal Logan, he's from Wanganui.
He's
He's
from
still
Wanganui.
he's in us. Yeah, he's from Wanganui. His parents owned the only pub that was there, he said at first.
Good grief. Well,
Yeah.
what a terrific band. It's so funky, isn't it? That sound is so funky.
Yeah, the band was really tight, and the way the album was put together with Ern Rose, he helped us produce it. He was our sound engineer. He would just sit with us in rehearsal while we were putting together and piecing together segments, and he would just sit. So he knew the actual live sound of the band without a whole lot of effects or anything. So we added a few effects on different songs in different places. For instance, like Hoop, we used like a few effects on that for the drums.
It's amazing. And so, you've worked with a squillion big names over the years. You had the Greg Tell Express and and the South Harlem Concerto. And you supported the Average White Band, Jose Feliciano, Lou Reed. We're back with you, and we're back with Greg Tell from Auckland. Hi, Greg. Thanks for bearing with us there. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, nice to be back with you.
I'm so glad we got you back, I tell you. So, the amazing Hugh Makasela on that particular track, and, of course, someone who pretty much, noticed your talent from an early age. Must have been a wonderful person to have spent time with.
Yeah, well, he okayed our record deal because he was a producer with the record company as well as Stuart Levine. And Stuart, he produced like Dave Sanborn, Simply Red. And he produced that music for the Rumble in the Jungle when Muhammad Ali fought there. Hugh Masekela was a large part of that production of that as well.
Yeah, and it's such a distinctive sound, isn't it?
Yeah, when you hear him play his horn, you know it's him. Doesn't matter who he's working with, you know his sound.
Yeah, the mark of a great artist. Now you, Greg, have had a really interesting career, also working in theatre, which interests me a lot because you were with Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical show Five Guys Named Mo. What's it like being in things like that? What was your experience of it?
Oh, they audition all around the world. They audition like in Detroit, Chicago, New York. They audition in L.A. And then I was living in Adelaide and just had a house built. And I went to the musician union. I knew the lady, and I said, "Are there any auditions going? Like for any plays or gigs or residencies?" And she said, "No, I don't have anything." She said, "Wait a minute, I have something here on the desk." And she had a fax from Sydney. They were looking to audition drummers and bassists for the show Five Guys. So they flew me to Sydney from Adelaide, and I did the audition. And then I flew back to Adelaide because I had a gig to do the Commonwealth heads, the government. They were meeting there, And so I had to fly back the same day to do that gig. And I heard nothing for 6 months. So I flew back to Sydney, went back in the studio. And then my wife called me and said, "Yeah, they called, Andrew Lloyd Webber called, and they want you to go to the Opera House to get measured for the job and sign the contract."
Brilliant.
So I went there. They sent this guy over from London. His name was Neil MacArthur, and he was like the pianist, like the depth pianist in the show. So they flew him from London, so I had to play with him and play with the rhythm section and do some grooves. He said to me, "You stay back." So they auditioned some other drummers, and they released them. He said, "Now you got the gig." So, I hadn't heard anything, so I thought, nah, but when they called me, then that was it. They flew me from Australia to London, and I was staying in Mayfair at the Green Park Hotel there.
Beautiful.
And they let us rest because the union, you have to rest when you fly internationally for 2 days. And then we started the show. We started rehearsing the show there at Shaftesbury Avenue. Yeah.
Yeah, the heart of the London Theatre District.
Yeah, we were there, but we started rehearsing at the Pineapple Studios around the corner from there. And we rehearsed from 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, 6 days a week.
Amazing.
And we just did that. So I would just take time off and go to Camden or Chalk Hill, go to the markets, just walk around on Sunday. You know, but your body is so set and your clock is so set, you don't feel right because you play 6 days a week. You need to play that seventh day to make it right.
Yeah. Why do 6 when you can do 7, hey?
Yeah. Well, your body's used to that.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
we did that. And then we started the show. Then we took it to Broadway. Then we took it from there to Collins Street in Melbourne at the Athenaeum Theater. We were there. And then the show ended there in 1993. I think they continued, took the show, because three-quarters of the cast were from, some were from London, some were from Sweden. I was the only one from L.A., and others were from, Italy. But it was an all-black show about Louis Jordan's music. It was all of his music. It was a gas. It was a real party musical. At halftime, they made everyone they could go to the bar, on the mezzanine level. So every theater had to have certain things, and they had to alter the Athenaeum Theater in Melbourne because the stage that we were on came forward towards the audience, and then they reversed it backward again at the end of the show.
Right, okay. So a wonderful time, only great memories from that part of your life?
Oh, yeah, Steven Spielberg, he helped out, and the cast, the people that did the costume, they were the same people that did The King and I. So it was really nice how well put together it was.
It would have been a treat. I know that show was so well received, and working with someone held in so much esteem as Andrew Lloyd Webber would have been terrific.
Oh, yeah. We never saw him. One night we were there, Andrew Lloyd Webber and Cameron McIntosh took us all out to dinner because we were getting ready to fly to Australia from there. And that's the only time he came before we flew out, the day before. He came in with his secretary, and he sent his secretary to fire some of the cast. I could not believe it.
Ooh.
It was that's yeah. So because when you start the show out, you have about say 20 people involved. They're going to cut that down to there were 5 people on stage, and we needed 5 fill-ins. Depth. So if they get hurt, because they get a lot of injuries like knees, ankles, a lot of dancing and jumping and ballet going on there. So they wear knee pads under their costumes.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah,
it would,
really
so many people involved in the production of just one single show. It's massive.
Oh, yeah.
But of course, you've been on lots of TV shows as well, Greg. Soul Train, I remember that. Johnny Carson.
Don Cornelius, Johnny Carson. We did also the Mike Douglas show in Philadelphia. That was a gas. And then he switched his show because sometimes they'll move their show for a month. He switched his show to Lake Tahoe. So we went there and did Lake Tahoe. That was nice. Yeah.
So you enjoyed the TV side of it as well.
Yeah, but that side of it, what you do a lot of rehearsing, and everything's right on time. So you rehearse a tune, like when we did the Michael Parkinson show, when he came to Australia, brought his show. You used to do some stuff in the studio, the audio stuff. And then the tag, the sting that they have to open the show and come back from a commercial, you play that all the time. You bring an artist on, like we had Frank Thring on. He was an actor from England. And I saw the guy that had a show in Australia at the time. So a lot of the time is spent, just sort of sitting around, and you have to wait until the conductor and the producers are ready. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suppose a very different feel to the theatre playing.
Very different, totally different. It's totally different. And then, I've done acting sort of things. I was just an extra. You wait around for 8 hours. And that movie, Dark City. I know Alex Proyas, the producer from that, and I did a few things with them. With Faith Martin. They get people in Australia, parts in movies.
Right, okay. So lots of interesting sides to your career, but then, of course, you found your way to Auckland. Now, how did that come about?
I was in Hawaii working at the Hilton, And I met a lady there, and then one thing led to another. And our son's from here too, so we wound up had a son, and I came to New Zealand. So we came and checked it out like before when we came from Hawaii, and we stayed 10 days and checked it out. Then we went back to Australia. So I wound up here because I also could get a good teaching job. I was a school teacher here when I first came here in 2001 at St. Kenrigan's. I had a different school each day where I was an itinerant drum tutor. So I did that, and then I was at Sky City at the same time working at the Alto Bar back in Old Axe, and then I got the contract to Japan. So I hopped over there, did that for a minute in a resort.
Right. So, and do you enjoy the teaching side of your life?
Oh yeah, that's I have some really, really talented students. I have one. He's 12-year-old. His name, we call him Zaya, the player, and he's incredible. And he's 12 years old. He's ready. He soaks it up. I also have another student, Stephen Joyce, Thomas Joyce is a son, and I have him. He's something else. He's 17-year-old from St. Kenrigan's.
Yeah.
And I have about 18 students, but I'm still teaching now. I have my business in Upper Queen Street there, and some posters on the window. So
So if people
after this interview,
yes,
I'll be teaching.
Oh wow! And so if people want to find you and to register or have you teach their child, I guess they can go online and track you down.
Well, they can get me at Greg Tell at extra.co.nz.
Right, Greg Tell at extra.co.nz. I like NZ better actually. do you feel happy in New Zealand? Like, do you think this is your home now? Are you staying put?
Oh, yeah, I do. See, my mother's 94, so I want to get back maybe Christmas time to see her. And I have a son in Australia who's in the Air Force, Australian Air Force. He's a personal training instructor. And so I like to get to Australia to see him, my family, and stuff like that. But I love it here. I really like it. It's conducive to a longer life, I think, here.
Interesting.
At the moment, yeah. Yeah, I do. I really enjoy it. I sleep well. I don't have to worry about anyone breaking in the window or shooting into the window. But in saying that, you see this thing starting to proliferate, throughout the world, with the youngsters especially.
Yeah, so for you, it feels like a safe place.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you can.
I love the food.
Oh, you love the food? Really?
Oh, the fish and it's really nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's good to hear. We do have amazing seafood, actually. We do. And, you've played at some interesting places in the past, like Verona. Used to play jazz at Verona Cafe, which was one of my favourites in the old days on K Road. Does that still exist, Verona?
Yeah. We used to do with Peter Wood. He's an amazing vibraphonist. And I used to work there. He worked in my trio there with Alex Griffiths on bass. And Alex, he's currently in my trio, and he's worked with Randy Crawford when she came here.
Uh-huh.
He worked in Madiba, that show, Nelson Mandela's show that was at the Bruce Mason Center.
Yes.
He's an incredible bass player from Auckland here.
How wonderful. And the thing that people won't know about you as well, with your Greg Tell trio, which is currently performing around Auckland, that you have a member of the group The Commodores in your band. Tell us about that.
Well, I don't have him in my band. We do have a band together, and we do that's Ronald and Parade, and we do private functions. Like we did a job in January for. We don't do many, but when we get together, it's a 7-piece band. Some of those background singers, one's from L.A., and then the others are New Zealand musicians, and we had the bass player from Little River Band. And we did this job for Rob Dukes, this guy that owns Rebel Sports in Briscoe's. We do his birthday every year over in Hearn Bay. I live about 2 blocks from him.
Yeah, that's nice. So people are seeking you out. They want to get you. So So have you got 2 bands then, Greg? Is this right? You got your Greg Tell trio.
Well, I work with a few more than that. I have another band. I work with Steve Tulloch and we're at the Grayland RSA. That's on the 13th of July. But the closest gig currently coming up is the Morningside Tavern at 16 McDonald Street, Sandringham. That's on July the 7th at 7 p.m.
All right, so if anyone would like to listen to Greg Tell Trio, that's the one you got to put in your diary. I would like to be there. And so that's good. So there'll be regular bookings. I mean, it won't be hard to find a gig by you because you've got so many bands on the go.
No, that's not true, because with COVID came, everything was locked down. You couldn't fly out, you couldn't fly in. You just had to sit, and then all the students, you couldn't have people in the studio, you see. So I had to wait till all the restrictions were lifted in that respect. And then, so it's been going strong. A lot of the students have come back, so I currently have 7/8 of them back now.
That's great. And you have a rehearse space in Queen Street, yeah?
Yes, that's where I teach from as well. I have like 5 sets of drums here, and African talking drums, cymbals, bells, PA system. When we do the rehearsing with the 7-piece band with Ronald LaPrade, we do the rehearsing here at my studio.
I bet that sounds sweet when you guys are all cranking.
Oh, yeah, it does. It's really nice because you have the full complement, like 2 background vocalists, yeah.
Oh, just brilliant. So I have to mention Ron Lapede of the Commodores, even though he's not in, you are collaborating with him in other projects.
Yes.
So we talked last night about a song that you love from the Commodores. So I think we might just take the song quickly, the Night Shift track. Wasn't this written about Marvin Gaye?
Well, they're singing in this actual song. It is about Marvin Gaye, but it's also about Sam Cooke. And a few of the other singers, if you listen closely. And it's about somebody working like late at night, and they have these sounds on while they're doing like the graveyard shift. If you work in a factory or a big warehouse, and there's only a few of you in there at that time, 2 in the morning, and these sounds are blasting on the radio.
Your real passion is jazz, or would you say you're not necessarily?
I would say like a mixture of a few different things, because coming up I was right into jazz, but I played in the symphony orchestra and the marching band, so that gave me a strong foundation with the technique and rudiments, which is important, especially in jazz, for touch, where you just don't bash the drums, like you get tone out of them. Mm-hmm. So the application is a little bit different, stylish-wise. If it's funk, you can play a little bit stronger on the snare drum, you see. So,
yes.
But I have a teacher here, Latin teacher. He's a Latin master. He worked with Peter Allen and Grover Washington Jr. and Isaac Hayes and a lot of those people. So he's teaching me. And his name's Miguel Fuentes. He's a very famous, he's been living here longer than I have. And he teaches me, so I'm like Latin. I'm learning some Latin stuff, and have attempted to play some pseudo-Latin.
Terrific.
But understanding it is another thing.
I can imagine. But how lucky are we to have people like Miguel and yourself? And isn't it funny how you're a teacher, but you in turn are being taught?
Yes, yeah. Well, you never stop learning. But in music, this is infinite. So there's always something new. Yeah. A new combination.
Dead right. And it's been so wonderful talking with you. Greg, tell me one more time the date for the Greg Tell Trio's performance in July.
We'll be live on July the 7th at 7 p.m. at the Morningside Tavern. That's number 16 McDonald Street, Sandringham.
Get yourselves along there, people, and enjoy some great music. And Greg, I wish you a wonderful rest of the year, and so great to have you living here in our country.
Great. Thanks for having me, and hope to see you there.
Yeah, me too, Greg. I hope to see you live.
All right.
Have a great afternoon.
Stay out of trouble, and give my regards to Broadway.
Oh, absolutely, 100. Thanks a million, Greg Tell. What a great guest to finish Southbeat on today. Really enjoyed talking with him. An amazing life. And like I say, if you get a chance, go along and see him. That's it.